Know what to eat, but find yourself not eating it. Perhaps you've been on diets and off again and just wonder why you can't stick to them. The Eating For You podcast, hosted by me, Sally Ann Pisk, will show you what's been missing so you can enjoy a healthier way of eating that lasts. Hi, Sally Ann here, and welcome to our first episode for 2025. I wish you a very healthy and happy year ahead. Just in case you haven't tuned into Eating For You before, it's all about helping women get off the dieting roller coaster and setting up a way of healthier eating that they can sustain. I'm a dietitian and mindfulness practitioner, and with over 30 years of experience, I have seen many dieting trends come and go, then come back again with a new disguise. As it is the new year, I wouldn't be surprised if you have set yourself some New Year's resolutions, just like I have. But there is one resolution that I don't recommend, and that is setting a weight loss goal. I understand the societal pressure around weight, but there's a much more compassionate and effective way to achieve a healthy body. So in this episode, I want to have an honest chat with you about why setting weight loss goals may not serve you well. I'll explore why focusing on weight could actually work against you rather than support you. And I'll share the alternative approach. First up, I want to share my 3 top reasons why I don't recommend setting a weight loss goal. And the first one is that weight loss goals often rely on unsustainable and unhealthy methods. I recall one of my first diets as a teenager. I had to eat the same food for 3 days in a row. I didn't get past the first food, which was bananas. And then for the next 3 days, I just ate whatever was in sight. So if I did manage to lose half a kilo in 3 days, I certainly put that back on and more afterwards. But whether it has been skipping meals, restricting foods, or going paleo, keto, plant-based, any extreme diet is not maintainable. And these methods can lead to yo-yo dieting, which is detrimental not only to your physical health and your weight going up and down, it's not great for our mental and emotional health either. Extreme exercise programs are also very difficult to maintain. And when it comes to weight loss diets, research shows that adults will often, on average, try 126 different diets in a lifetime. The research also suggests that fad diets last anywhere from 5 to 16 days. The statistic that always pulls at my heartstrings is that the average woman will lose their body weight 9 times in their lifetime. So I'm talking about the weight lost, the weight gained, the weight lost, and that cycle of weight loss and regain. And I'm talking about a body weight, losing that amount of weight 9 times in your lifetime. Research also shows that less than 5% of people stick to a healthy eating plan for 12 months. And some research would actually say that 99% of people fail at sticking to healthy eating. At the beginning of 2022, 60% of Australians were wanting to lose weight. And from your own experience and those close to you, you know that when the diet ends, the weight comes back on. All of my clients tell me, Sally Ann, I wished I'd never gone on a diet in the first place. Annette, who graciously shared part of her eating journey with us in episode 7 of our podcast, said that as an adult, she had never fitted into the healthy weight range, but didn't realise that she wasn't meant to. After dieting on and off for 20 years, she decided to have bariatric surgery. And when the weight started coming back on after surgery, she panicked. But thankfully, she reached out to me to find an alternative way of eating so she could have a healthy relationship with food and her body. Before Annette joined one of my programs, she did have a free call with me, and I offer these calls for free so I can help you identify the habit that's keeping you stuck and the strategies that will help you move forward. So if you're interested in having a personal plan put together, then join me in a free 30-minute mindful eating strategy call, and you'll come away from that call with a personalised plan. The link to book one of these calls is with this episode's notes. Christine, another client of mine, said that she actually dieted herself to obesity, and she picked up other conditions on the way, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and arthritis. So this leads me to the second reason why I don't recommend setting a weight loss goal, and that is that weight loss doesn't actually guarantee improved health, because there are hidden costs. So contrary to popular belief, pursuing weight loss can actually compromise your physical health, not improve it. And the four that I want to cover off today are the loss of that precious lean muscle mass, which supports our metabolism and functional strength, the potential decrease in bone density, and this is particularly concerning as we age, the risk of nutrient deficiencies by having a very restrictive eating plan, and the development of disordered eating patterns that have a long-term and far-reaching impact on our health and well-being. But before I go into these costs in a little more detail, I want to explain simply why setting a weight loss goal is so out of date, and it's a bit like believing that using plastic cling wrap is a healthy way to keep food fresh. I want to talk about body composition instead of body weight, and there's more information about this in episode 96. An average 70 kilo or 100 pound adult carries around 40 litres or 40 kilos of water. The remaining 40% of body composition comes from the adult skeleton, which accounts for around 5 to 15% of our weight, and the rest of our weight comes from muscle and fat, and this differs between individuals. So when we talk about wanting to lose weight, we don't want to lose lean muscle, and we don't want to lose our bone. We want to lose fat. But restrictive diets and weight loss goals often lead to us losing muscle and bone as well. There's also concern that weight loss drugs like Ozempic, which assist weight loss from fat, but also bone and muscle, are actually making us fatter. We end up with higher fat levels than are healthy. And this topic certainly requires closer attention, and I'm wanting to share more about this in a future episode. So how do you know if your body fat levels are unhealthy? The quickest and simplest way to check this is to take your waist measurement. A healthy waist for a man is 45 centimetres or less, and 80 centimetres or less for a woman. So what is really wrong with losing lean muscle mass? I've covered some of this already, but the main concern regarding weight is that losing lean muscle lowers your metabolic rate. Metabolism is the chemical process that keeps your body functioning, and the rate at which your body converts food to energy is related to your metabolism. So metabolic rate varies by body type, age, gender, and the amount of muscle you have. Yo-yo dieting causes your metabolism to slow down. That's why it's harder to lose weight each time you try. Eating too few calories or kilojoules from food causes your metabolic rate to drop. As mentioned, when we lose weight, we lose muscle as well as fat. When we gain weight, most of it comes from fat. So we get fatter and our metabolic rate stays reduced. It's kind of like starting with a V8 engine, and anyone who knows anything about cars knows that a V8 engine needs more fuel to go 100 kilometres compared to a 4-cylinder car. So before we diet, we have a V8 engine, and then after we diet, we only have a 4-cylinder. Not having enough protein, poor sleep, and low activity levels also contribute to a lowered metabolic rate. The loss of lean muscle through dieting also weakens our bones. It is the lean muscle mass that we carry that determines how strong our bones are. So this finding from research implies that good physical activity plus balanced nutrition will optimize how much bone mass you have. And this leads me to cost number 2, which is decrease of bone density. Chronic restrictive dieting contributes to having weaker bones, and our bones peak with density between the ages of 25 and 30, and we maintain that bone density through regular activities that are weight bearing, giving us resistance to keep our muscles strong, plus having the right nutrition as well. Women are at a high risk of developing osteopenia, which is weakened bones, and osteoporosis, which is the very fragile, brittle bones that develop as they weaken. And research shows that within 5 years of menopause, women can lose up to 10% of their bone density. So it's really important that we invest in our bone strength by having a good exercise routine for us, making sure we're keeping our muscles strong, but also making sure we're eating that balance of nutrients that's right for us. So if you have any concerns about your nutrition balance not being right for you, then email me and ask me about nutrition consultation options. The next cost sort of really follows on from what I've just been talking about. There are numerous nutrition deficiencies that can occur due to restrictive diets. Common deficiencies for women are vitamin B12 and iron. And the longer term deficiencies that I see in a lot of the women that are my clients who have perhaps restricted calcium-rich foods or dairy foods when they've been dieting, unfortunately, is that lack of calcium and the other minerals that are required for bone strength. So women in their 50s and 60s are developing osteopenia and osteoporosis, which puts you at a higher risk of breaking a bone. And as I mentioned, if you want your nutrition balance sorted out, then send me an email. My email is included with this episode's notes. And yo-yo dieting is one of the biggest risk factors for developing disordered eating patterns that can have an enormous effect on your health and well-being. Restriction encourages overeating and damages our relationship with food. One of my clients, Sam, recalled a successful diet attempt, and it was a low-carb diet. But once she hit her target weight, she just binged out on anything that included carbs, especially bread and pasta. So I think you get the idea of what I'm saying here. When we restrict things that we miss and we enjoy, when we get the opportunity to eat them, we go overboard well and truly. And for Kathy, her past restriction of sweet foods because of dieting attempts meant that when I met her, she couldn't even think of not eating sweet foods. She couldn't resist them at all. So she kept bags of lollies around the house and chocolate as well. But she had learnt to eat this in secret because she knew that it wasn't good for her diabetes. It was causing her blood sugars to spike. But if you want to break free from this yo-yo dieting or food cravings that you may have developed through dieting, like Sam and Kathy have, then make sure you book in for one of those 3 30-minute mindful eating strategy calls. The link to my calendar is included with this episode's notes. One of the key problems with restrictive diets is that they encourage you to override natural hunger rather than learning to eat in tune with hunger and satiety cues. Eventually, you can get so out of touch with these cues that you really believe the only way to stop overeating is to follow a meal plan. But as I just explained, it's those very meal plans that then cause you to overeat. It's a vicious circle. And the forbidden foods in most diets are your comfort foods. These might be chocolate, ice cream, or potato crisps. So what happens when you restrict these foods is that you lose your mechanism to deal with stress. Now, eating is not the best way to manage stress or your emotions, but until you have other strategies in place, restricting comfort foods is not going to help because you're going to reach for these foods to deal with any distress in your life. The last thing I want to say about how diets contribute to disordered eating is that they cultivate an all or nothing mindset. And you're either on a diet or off a diet, or eating good foods or eating bad foods. Judy, who shared with us in episodes 51 and 112 of the Eating For You podcast, said that one of her crucial and initial breakthroughs was to remove the good food and bad food labels. As soon as she managed this, all the guilt, self-blame, and the desire to overeat were removed. And this leads me to the third reason why I don't recommend setting a weight loss goal. Weight loss goals can undermine our self-worth. Some of the ways dieting impacts our well-being include increasing anxiety around food and food choices, especially in social situations. We may even find that we start avoiding any events that include food. There's a reduction in our self-worth because we believe we're failing at diets because success is linked to a number on the scales, which may be quite meaningless in our overall scheme of health and happiness. And then there's the emotional burden of the constant monitoring, which creates a negative relationship with food and body and increases guilt and shame. Bronwyn, one of my clients, wondered if she could actually heal her relationship with food and body. In her early 40s, she realised that diets weren't working for her, but she didn't know what else to do. Through the Eating For You programs, Bronwyn found her natural, healthy body and also learned to sit with those big and uncomfortable emotions without reaching for food. She doesn't weigh herself anymore and is enjoying the freedom of not having to worry about food or jump on the scales. You can listen to Bronwyn's story if that's of interest to you in episode 57. Another client, Dee, asked me one day, why is it that I don't like looking at myself in the mirror, and when I do, I then go and raid the food cupboard? Wouldn't body dissatisfaction actually help me to eat healthier? But body image is a complicated combination of our thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs that we hold about our bodies and how we look. And of course, this includes our size, shape, and weight. But how we feel about our bodies changes over time. Sometimes we can be quite happy with how we look. Other times we feel uncomfortable. Sometimes we feel a bit of both. And then sometimes we just get on with life and body image is quite neutral. But body image certainly impacts our relationship with food, our relationship with ourselves, and our relationship with others. So getting back to Dee's body dissatisfaction and binge eating response, her eating habit wasn't just related to how she felt in her body or how she felt that she looked. It was really related to her belief that no matter what she did, she would never change to maintain healthier eating long term. So she kind of held that why bother belief that triggered her overeating. And this is why another diet wasn't going to work for her. In an upcoming episode, I will be exploring the role of body image as a driver or motivator for eating in much more detail. Before I move on to the alternative to dieting, I just want to share a thought. If you have dieted on and off for years or decades, how do you know what your weight is meant to be? Setting a goal for weight in this situation is just like throwing a dart with a blindfold on, but expecting to hit the bullseye. Does this make sense? Now, let's take a look at the alternative to setting another weight loss goal. Do you agree that restrictive diets don't work long-term or even short-term? Do you agree that losing weight is really meaningless and outdated? Because our health is related to body composition, not weight. Do you agree that dieting and diet rules have sometimes made you feel like a failure and shameful about your body and eating habits? I'm hoping that you answered yes to the first two. And sadly, I understand you may have said yes to the third question too. The alternative goals to having a weight loss goal that I recommend in general terms are focusing on transforming eating habits, improving your relationship with food, and prioritizing your emotional and mental well-being. For Annette, one of the main habits that changed for her was being able to tune into and trust her hunger and satiety cues. She realised that she had never learnt to do this before, and she talks more about this in episode 7. As already mentioned, Kathy used to hide sweet foods all through the house and eat them in secret. By gradually letting go of that all or nothing dieting mindset, she could just have sweet foods at lunchtime. And then, as her confidence grew with mindful eating, her occasions of eating sweet foods or chocolate were down to once or twice a week. And that was through choice, not through restriction. Judy, in episode 112, which was 18 months after completing our Foundations Mindful Eating program, explained that the mindfulness practices that she had learned in our programs were helping her move with the ups and downs of life. By being able to do this, she was less stressed and had noticed that she had experienced fewer occasions of emotional eating. She explained, when you feel stressed and you're tired, you cannot make sensible decisions about anything. Everyone's focus will be slightly different, depending on the habit you want to change, but the Eating for You approach provides you with the steps and guidance to do this. And if you would like my help for free, then don't miss out on our Mindful Eating Strategy Call. Call is all about focusing on the habit that's keeping you stuck in unhealthy eating habits and mapping out a plan to help you change it for good. And of course, if you love that plan and you would like extra help from me, then we can talk about that too. So today's episode has explored why I don't recommend weight loss goals. Diets don't last. Weight loss doesn't necessarily improve your health. And yo-yo dieting has a negative impact on our feelings of self-worth and our relationship with food and body. But please, if you have already set a weight loss goal, do not blame yourself. It is what we have all heard is the right thing to do. I spent many years on the weight loss roller coaster before I developed the Eating for You approach. But if you are committed to improving your health and taking care of your body, then transform your weight loss goal into one that focuses on transforming unhealthy eating habits, or improves your relationship with food, or helps you to prioritize your mental and emotional well-being. In 2025, let's focus on goals that nurture and encourage us to sustain healthier eating, because we are worth it. And remember, worth isn't measured by your weight. This year, let's focus on nurturing your relationship with food and body rather than trying to change them. Your body deserves respect and care at any size. And if you would love some guidance and support with this, the link to book a free 30-minute mindful eating strategy call is available with this episode's notes. And if you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. I look forward to sharing with you again next week. You have been listening to the Eating for You podcast with Sally Ann Pisk. If a long-term way of healthier eating is of interest to you, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast.